All right. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Couch Warrior podcast. As always, I'm your host, Mike, and today we're going to be breaking down UFC Vegas 85. So I'm solo today. I'm moving, so that's why my camera's different. I already packed away the good one, using the webcam for now. And yeah, we're going to try to do this one relatively quickly. I'm hoping for about a 30-minute show. There's a bunch of other people going live soon. Don't want to get in anybody's hair, so we'll try to be quick. I've got a few spots already, mostly underdogs for this card. I really don't feel great about any of the favorites. And yeah, let's hop right into it and not waste any time. We've got Thomas Petersen versus Jamal Pogues as the first fight of the card at heavyweight. Petersen's 8-1-0. He's 28 years old, 6'1" with a 74-inch reach. Pogues on the other side, he's going to be 28 as well, 10-4-0. He's 6'3", so he's 2 inches taller, and he's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage. So despite being he used to be a heavyweight, Pogues. Now he's at heavyweight. I mean, a light heavyweight. Now he's at heavyweight. He's still the bigger man despite coming up a weight class a few fights ago. So for this one, I think that Pogues is the right side as the underdog. I played him at plus 230. The price isn't quite as good right now. It's already like plus 140, I think, something like that. I still think it's playable because I think he should have been the favorite to begin with. I would have lined him around minus 125, maybe something a little bit closer. My guy Andrew, what's good, brother? But yeah, I think the line is just off. Petersen, he's a great wrestler. He's a fantastic wrestler, great credentials, uses it in all of his fights. But first of all, he's been out of round one, I think, twice in 9 fights. Never been to a decision. Don't really think he's going to look too great in a round 3 or later in a round 2. Against Acosta, he looked okay, but he was definitely slowing down. He definitely slowed down in round 3, and that's where he ultimately got finished. Does Pogues put him away? I don't necessarily think so, but it really depends because I think that early Petersen will get the takedowns. Pogues has pretty good takedown defense, but I mean, Parisian got him down, but his get-ups are pretty good. I do think he can get up. I think that as that goes on and Petersen's taking him down, he's getting up. I think Petersen's going to really get tired. He's going to slow down. I don't think he has much to offer on the feet. So once he can't get the takedowns, I kind of think he's screwed. I think that Pogues, while he's not some stud, he's the better striker. He has better output on the feet. He keeps his punches nice and straight. He's got that really good jab, nice combinations. And I just think he's the much better striker. The grappling obviously goes to Petersen, but Pogues can wrestle offensively as well, which is something I think he might do as the fight progresses. And I have a feeling that you put Petersen on his back and he might not know how to get back up with someone like Pogues on top of him. He's never been put in that position. So with the cardio edge, with the striking edge, with the size advantage, I think the Pogues is going to win this fight. I think it's kind of weird to compare this to the Polizzi fight. At that time, Pogues was lighter. He was fighting at light heavyweight. Polizzi, not much smaller than Petersen. He's 6 foot. Petersen 6'1". Polizzi, also a very high-level wrestler with better cardio than someone like Petersen, who's fought much better competition than someone like Petersen. Petersen's competition has been ass. The only good fighter that he's fought was Acosta, and he lost that fight. He got knocked out in the 3rd round. I don't think Pogues is some kind of future champion, but I think he has the tools to beat Petersen here. I think it's pretty ridiculous to lay the chalk on someone like Petersen. So we're going to go with Pogues as the underdog, and we can move on. My guy Josh. What's up, brother? So next up, we've got Marquel Mederos versus Landon Quinones. Mederos, he's 8-1-0, 27 years old, 5'10" with a 69.5-inch reach, training out of Factory X, and this is his UFC debut. He fought on the Contender Series. He knocked out, what's his damn name? Aliaskhab, which was a really nice performance. Quinones on the other side, 7-2-1. He's 28, so he's 1 year older. 5'9", 1 inch shorter. He's going to have just about the same reach here, and he's training out of Kill Cliff, one of my favorite camps. So for this one, you know, Quinones, he was on the Ultimate Fighter House. People were pretty low on him because he got submitted by Jason Knight, but that was like a 40-second fight. And you really couldn't take much from there other than that Quinones does stick his head out a little bit and can be guillotined. When he made his debut against Nassourdine, I think he was like a plus 300 underdog, and he went to absolute war with a really good striker in Nassourdine who has great output, has good striking defense, and is just a great striker all around. And Quinones was able to get in there and make it a fight because he was using those leg kicks. I think that the leg kicks can do the same thing here. Mederos might be a little bit better at range. He's got a little bit better movement. His feints are a little bit better. I think at range he can set things up a bit better, but he does struggle under pressure a little bit. In the Michael Murphy fight, he was getting pressured a bunch and he was getting landed on. He was giving up shots. He was getting hit, and it just didn't look too good. And I think that someone like Landon Quinones, with his pressure, with those leg kicks, he's also a decent striker. I think they're pretty close. I don't think Mederos is leagues above of him in the striking. I just think he's slightly better. So I think that Quinones can equalize that by using the pressure, using his pace, using those leg kicks. If you really knock out those legs from under Mederos, he loses the movement. He's not going to be as explosive. And, Mederos can wrestle sometimes. And I was thinking maybe that's something he might try to do here, but take away those legs and the takedowns are going to become much harder, especially for a guy who's primarily a striker in Mederos. Quinones, he also can wrestle. He's a pretty good one. I can see him mixing it in as well. I can't really tell you who has better cardio. I think Quinones is a little bit more tried and true with the cardio, but I think that Mederos has shown pretty good cardio in all of his performances as well. So the pick here, I guess I'm going to pick Quinones, but it's a really close fight. I do wish I played Quinones when he was like plus 200 or even plus 170. Even plus 150 was a good price because I think this is 50-50 maximum. But that price is gone. He's like plus 110 now. I don't know if I'll necessarily get there because I do think Mederos is really good. He's going to be better in the clinch probably. At range, I think he's going to be a little bit better. It's just once Landon closes that distance is where I think it's going to get close, especially if he's using leg kicks again. To catch up with the chat real quick, let's fucking go, my guy. Thank you for tuning in. Glenbot, as always, what's up, brother? Thank you for pulling up. Over 2.5 at minus 120. I do think that's a pretty good look. I know a lot of people who are on it. The only reason I can't play it unless it's plus money is that it's a style. It's the styles of these two guys. They're both relatively hittable. They both are going to bring the pace and the pressure, and they're going to go to war. And I don't like having overs when I think a fight's going to be a war, unless it's plus money, and I feel like I have the edge there. So if the line somehow flips and I can get like plus 100, I'll play that. Both guys are very durable, and I think both guys can take a lot of damage. But because of the way they fight, I can't play it at minus 120. So Quinones will be the pick, and we can move on. Next up, we've got Julija Stoliarenko versus Luana Carolina. Stoliarenko 11-7-1. 30 years old. She's 5'7" with a 69-inch reach. On the other side, we got Carolina 9-4-0. She's 30 as well. Going to be 1 inch shorter and going to have the same reach. So for this one, it's a tough one. I feel like Stoliarenko will probably win early. I feel like that's the most likely outcome. She's been looking a lot better in the striking. I'm actually relatively impressed with her striking recently. She doesn't just throw bombs anymore. She's got pretty straight strikes. She's able to put up together combinations, and she just doesn't throw those head kicks just empty anymore. She actually mixes them into her combinations and makes it work. So she's come a long way there. She's still incredibly hittable. So someone like Carolina will be able to hit her, find her range, and land quite a bit. She's got good output as well. Stoliarenko probably has the power edge. I wouldn't be shocked if she wobbled Carolina. I do think she might have that power, especially down a weight class now. She was a bantamweight until that Molly McCann fight, and now she's over here at flyweight. And I do think that power will translate, and I do think she can actually hurt her. I even considered the knockout prop, but I mean, 10 out of 11 wins are round one submission. Seems like that's what will happen here if she does win, but I can see a knockout too. I wouldn't be shocked at all. Stoliarenko does have the wrestling to take it down there. She doesn't need her opponents to bring her there. She can bring it there. I was pretty impressed with the wrestling as well. I didn't think it was that good, and once I taped it, I actually thought it was pretty good. And Carolina, while she does have good takedown defense and she was able to defend against someone like Lupi is teensy. Lupi's like 5'1", and she was on short notice. Stoliarenko is much, much bigger. She's coming down in weight. This is her second fight down in weight. And I just think that she's going to be much more physical than someone like Lupi, who's just up in weight class, too small, and on short notice. I think she can get those takedowns. She can work it on the ground. And I don't think it has to be an armbar. I know that's her thing, but I think she can do a rear naked choke too. I mean, she had Molly's back before she went for that armbar, and I wouldn't be shocked if she did something similar here. The thing is, I don't know if the cardio's improved. I still think it might be a question mark and not a good question mark. Probably a red flag is a better word for it. And Carolina, she's got cardio. She can keep it going. I do think that if she can defend it early, if she can defend those takedowns early in round one, the fight's going to go her way as the fight progresses. Like I mentioned earlier, I think at range, she's a better striker, even with Stoliarenko improving there. I just think that she needs to survive the bum rush of round one, where Stoliarenko will come out real hot, real hard, and try to put her away. If she can do that, I think she can run away with the fight. So I'm going to pick Stoliarenko to win, just because I think the most likely outcome is that early finish. But if I had to put my money on it, I'd be betting on the underdog, because I do think that if we get out of round one, she'll take over and she'll be able to win the fight by decision. What I did play, you can already see me smiling, is the round 3 prop on Carolina, plus 2,000 for 0.1 units to win 2. It's about the cardio, right? It's about the fact that Stoliarenko will probably slow down. If we get all the way to round 3 and she was trying to grapple, she's probably going to be pretty damn tired. And then Carolina can take over, maybe a ground and pound finish in round 3. So that's the one thing I've bet so far. Other than that, I'm probably going to stay off of it. Stoliarenko at plus money was probably a good bet, but at this point, I probably wouldn't touch it. Would I rather Julia or Carolina? Depends what you mean by rather. If I'm betting it, Carolina. As a pick, Julia, I guess, but it's a tough fight to pick. I'm going Julia, ITD, sprinkle on KO, round 1, round 2. Yeah, I mean, what's her round 1 knockout? That could be interesting. Because everyone thinks it's going to be the armbar, and I mean, history agrees, but how many times have we seen a different outcome come than what people expected? So let's see. Stoliarenko by knockout period is plus 1,500 on Bet Rivers. Stoliarenko round 1 knockout is plus 3,300, and round 2 is plus 4,500. I might have to do that. We'll see. That's definitely something I would consider. I'm not going to lie. Stoliarenko ITD, it's not as good. Plus 140. I would rather the money line at chalk at that point. But yeah, pick will be Stoliarenko, and we can move on. Next up, we've got Blake Bilder versus Jeong Lee. Bilder, he's going to be 8-1-1, 33 years old, 5'8" with a 68.5-inch reach. On the other side, we got Lee, 10-1-0, 28 years old. He's 5 years younger, 2 inches taller, and he's going to have about a 4-inch reach advantage. So for this one, it's another really tough fight to pick, because I've never been high on Lee. He's the winner of the Road to UFC from last year. He beat Yaji, which I think was a robbery, honestly. Yaji won that fight, but I also had Yaji at like a plus 200 ticket, so probably pretty biased. But I was never too high on Lee. He's an explosive guy with good power. His takedown defense is a little bit questionable. Even aside of the Yaji fight, he has been taken down. He has been controlled. But I'd say that for the most part, his takedown defense looked pretty good last time out. He did get taken down 5 times, but he defended, So he shot 11, Yaji got 5. So he defended 7 takedowns of those 11, which is pretty good. He's going for the underhooks and the hand control, which is exactly what I'm looking for when I'm looking at takedown defense. He was able to scramble. He was able to get back up. He was hard to hold down. And when he was being held down, he was at least throwing up either submission attempts or elbows, trying to land, trying to score. And I can see why they gave him the fight, because he did do a lot more damage than Yaji did. So I can see it here. I can see him defending the takedowns. He's a good striker. He's very explosive, good power. And Bilder, he's got a pretty questionable chin. He hasn't been knocked out ever, which is great, but he's been hurt in almost every single fight that he's had, which is just not a great look. And someone like Lee can definitely take advantage. He can definitely hurt him and then either get the knockout or maybe an armbar, which is possible. He has 3 submission wins, all by armbar. But Bilder does have really good jiu-jitsu, so I think a submission is unlikely. I think if Lee wins, it's probably a knockout. Maybe he can win a similar decision to last time, where he was able to just do more damage while the other person just had more control time. But the thing with Bilder, I thought I would like Bilder as the underdog, because I remembered him as a grappler. I remembered his jiu-jitsu, and I thought, okay, here's a guy in Lee who I think still has deficiencies on the ground. And I'm also not even that sold on his striking, to be honest, with Lee. He's a good striker, but I don't think he's elite. His output isn't that great. So I'm not completely sold. So I don't think that Bilder can't strike with him. He probably can. I just think that it's scary, because Bilder does have those chin issues, and Lee does hit really hard, and he is very explosive. So if I'm backing Bilder as the underdog, I want to know that he's going to shoot those takedowns. I want to know that he's going to be shooting and getting those takedowns. But he doesn't really do it. You look across his career, and he's got all these submission wins, but he's got so few takedowns. He's not really shooting. He's getting them opportunistically. And even the Buenafuente fight, right? He's getting taken down a bunch of times until he gets that submission. So he can be taken down too. If Lee decides to try that, maybe it could work. Bilder has the control and the jiu-jitsu that if he can get it down there, I think it'll be relatively hard for Lee to get back up. But the problem is I'm not seeing him get those takedowns enough. I'm not seeing him shoot enough for me to be comfortable backing him with my money. I mean, going 1-7 against Yeong, not a great look. Going 0-3 against Kyle Nelson, not really a great look. So I'm going to have to pick Lee here. I don't want to back him as a favorite because I'm really not sold on him as a fighter, period. But I can't back the dog only because I just don't know if he's going to be able to get those takedowns. If you told me he will 100% get at least like 3 takedowns, I'd probably be betting him because I think he can keep it there once he gets it there. I just don't know how easy it's going to be for him to get it there. So the pick will be Lee. Very, very little confidence, and we can move on. Catching up real quick, Glenbot saying set up for a road to UFC, but a cheeky look is either Lee by decision or Lee by sub because he's a BJJ black belt. Yeah, he's got those nice arm bars, but I think he's going to have to hurt Bilder to get the submission, maybe like a club and sub. But they haven't even released the props for this fight for some reason. So we'll see what those are when they come out. Either guy by decision could be interesting. But the thing is, the under is also interesting. That's why this is a fight I just got to stay away from. A little bit too torn on all sides. Moving on, though, we have Themba Gorimbo versus Pete Rodriguez. Themba is 11-4-0, 33 years old. He's 6'1" with a 77-inch reach. On the other side, we got Pete Rodriguez, 5-1-0. He's 27, so he's going to be 6 years younger. 5'9", so let me do that math. He's going to be 4 inches shorter, and he's going to be giving up 4 inches in reach. I don't understand why people are betting Pete Rodriguez. I don't understand it at all. You realize you could just pass, right? Like if you don't want to bet Themba at minus 250, that doesn't mean you have to bet Pete. That means you can just pass. That's an okay thing to do. I really don't understand it. Pete is a good striker in the pocket, and that's all he has. He has power. He's good in the pocket, and that's it. That's literally it. We don't know anything else. We don't know about his takedown defense because he hasn't been shot on because all his fights ended in the first round. He hasn't ever left the first round as a professional in 6 fights. We have no clue what the takedown defense looks like. It hasn't been tested recently. Literally, the only tape we have on it is from 2016. I think it was his first or second fight, and he got demolished on the ground by a guy who wasn't any good, but that was so long ago. That was in 2016 or 2015. He's probably improved a ton there. He has been training at MMA Lab. So I can see maybe he will have better takedown defense than before, but is it really going to be all that great against a guy like Themba, who's just huge compared to Pete, who's going to be way more physical? He is a good wrestler. He can make some mistakes being submission over position, but he's got good jiu-jitsu. He's got good back takes. And I do think he's going to be taking down Pete, and I do think he's going to be able to submit him. I do think he's going to be able to work him on the ground, maybe a ground and pound TKO. I'm not sure. But I just don't understand how you can bet Pete when there's a red flag on his cardio because he's never left the damn first round and he's beating absolute bums. You don't know what his takedown defense looks like. You don't know what his ground game looks like. Why the hell would you bet Pete Rodriguez? You really think he's going to come out here and knock out Themba? At range, he's got nothing because he's too damn small. In the pocket, sure, he can hit hard, but if he goes into the pocket, Themba's just going to body lock and go for the takedown. I'm not seeing it. I think people are throwing away their money. I'm not saying go parlay Themba. I'm not doing it, but I think they're throwing away money betting on Pete. The way I tackled this, I decided to go with round 2 and round 3 for Themba. I didn't pick a method. Didn't think it was necessary. I've been burned too many times trying to pick a method. So I just stuck with the rounds. I went with round 2 at plus 460 for a quarter unit on Bet Rivers. And I went with round 3 plus 1,000 for a 0.1 unit, 10th of a unit to win 1. Also on Bet Rivers. I just think that in the first round, maybe he won't get him out of there. He could. I might lose money that way. Themba might be able to do it early too. But I think that as he drags out Pete, I think as he grapples with him, makes him tired, I think he's going to be able to get that finish in the second round. And if we somehow get to the third, I think he'll finish it there. So I don't see the fight going to decision. I don't see Pete winning this at all. And I think it's Themba all day. I almost bet him at minus 235, but I decided to just cool it and just play the round props. What's good, Nick? There's your shout out, brother. All right, moving on. We've got Charles Johnson versus Azat Maksum. Johnson, he's coming off 3 losses in a row now. 13-6-0, 33 years old, 5'9" at the 70-inch reach. On the other side, Maksum, he's going to be 17-0, undefeated. 4 years younger, 2 inches shorter, going to have the same reach, though. I don't understand who's managing Charles Johnson. Maybe he's managing himself. He keeps taking these short notice opportunities against literally his kryptonite. Just keeps taking them against undefeated or really strong, really good grapplers. And it's not working out for him. And then he just keeps doing it anyways. In his last fight against Estevam, he could have won that fight if he had any sense of urgency, which for some reason he just doesn't. And maybe he can win this fight. He's a decent underdog if you insist on playing someone, but I think Azat's going to take this. Azat is a really good wrestler. I understand he didn't look good against Nam, but Nam has historically really good takedown defense, probably some of the best takedown defense in the flyweight division. Nam, up until that fight, was like, I think 90, 80 something percent takedown defense, and he only gave up, I think it was like 2 to Maksum, and Maksum shot like 11 times. So Tyson Nam has good takedown defense. He fought on the Russian regional scene before the UFC. He had good takedown defense even there against those Russians. And it wasn't shocking to see him defend takedowns against Maksum. Charles Johnson has horrible takedown defense. He gets taken down in every single damn fight against anyone who can grapple. His get-ups are good, and Maksum's control isn't great. So I can see the angle for Johnson, because I could see a world where Maksum is shooting and he's getting those takedowns, but he's not able to hold him down. Charles gets back up, makes him work, and is able to outstrike him, similar to what Nam did. I can see it. The thing is, I think that it's going to be easier here for Maksum to get those takedowns. I think he's also a pretty solid striker. I don't think the gap in the striking is too wide. Like against Estevam doesn't have much to offer on the feet other than these big wide hooks. Whereas Maksum, he'll throw straight. He's got good combos. He'll go down the pipe, and he mixes it up well on the feet as well. So if he can mix that up with his takedowns, I think he's going to get them. I think he's going to get the controlled time, and think he's going to win a decision. I bet Azat. It opened up. Let me go up. So it opened up at minus 235. Then it went up to minus 140, and that's where I snagged it. Then now it's minus 170. I mean, I think he's the rightful side. Would I parlay him? I don't think so, but I've been a lot more cautious with my parlays recently. If you insist on a parlay, he's probably one of the guys I'm more comfortable with, because I'm not really picking many favorites across this card. So Azat Maksum will be the pick. I think he just outgrapples Charles Johnson yet again. Same story every damn time with CJ, but it is what it is, and we can move on. We're going to spend little to no time on this fight. It's a rematch. I don't know why it's happening, but it's happening. We have Molly McCann versus Diana Belbita. McCann, she's going to be 13-6-0. Yo, she's also 33. That is, that's 1, 2, 3. That's 4 fighters in a row who are 33. And I still have my weird thing with that number, but it is what it is. 5'4" with a 62-inch reach. On the other side, Belbita, 15-8-0. She's 27, so she's going to be 6 years younger, 3 inches taller, and have a 6-inch reach advantage. And Molly is coming down to 115 now, so she's coming down in weight from flyweight. I don't know how that's going to serve her. We'll see. Don't really know why she's doing it. I guess because she's coming off 2 losses, but it's Blanchfield, and then you got subbed by Stoliarenko. Like, it happens. I don't think she should have changed weight classes, but if the weight class goes, I mean, if the weight cut goes well, I do think Molly wins this again. She literally 30-25 to her the last time out. Belbita didn't have a bad first round, but after that, Molly took over. The problem with Belbita is she's pretty limited. She's just a decent striker, and that's really it. She doesn't have any grappling. Her takedown defense is meh. And the striking, well, that's her best asset. It's not elite by any means either. Molly, much better output. She's going to have the power edge. Probably translates to this weight class, but we're going to have to wait and see. And she has all the grappling upside. Do I think she should be minus 300 coming down to minus 115? No, but I don't want to bet Belbita either, because I don't think enough has changed on either side for the outcome to be incredibly different. Usually rematches do go different, but not always. Look at Ankalaev and what's his name? Kutelaba went the same. And I just feel that not enough has changed. I just don't think enough has changed. I think McCann drowns her, and I think she wins a dominant decision. Maybe a late finish, but I'm not going to be betting on that. No interest in this fight whatsoever, and we can move on. Next up, we've got Gilbert Urbina versus Charles Radtke. Urbina 7-2-0, 27 years old. 6'3" with a 75-inch reach. On the other side, Radtke 8-3-0. He's going to be 33, 5 fights in a row. I got to do math for this one. 6 inches shorter, and he's going to have a 3-inch reach disadvantage. So I understand why everybody loves Urbina. I don't want to bet him at this price because I think the line is wide. Urbina is going to be huge compared to Radtke. He's going to be a better striker. He's going to be, I don't know who's the better offensive wrestler. Both guys can do it. Radtke can do it. Urbina can do it. Kind of lean Radtke. I think his wrestling's a little bit better, but the size might kind of favor Urbina here and might kind of balance it out so that Urbina is going to have more success offensively. The problem with Urbina is the cardio is still pretty questionable to me. I don't think his cardio is all that great. I think he slows down in a lot of fights. We saw that in the Brian Battle fight. We even saw it a little bit in the Kosi fight last time out, where I do think he slowed down quite a bit. And I think that Radtke, he also slowed a little bit in the Blood Diamond fight, but I think that overall his cardio is a little bit better. He's going to come out here and just wrestle with Urbina, and I can see it start to work as the fight continues in round 2, round 3. I can see him taking over. At the same time, though, he's relatively limited. His striking isn't all that great. He's going to be better in the pocket, more dangerous in the pocket. He's got those hooks with a lot of power behind them, and Urbina stands a little bit tall. His striking defense isn't great. So I can see Radtke backing him up, landing a bunch of hooks, and then mixing it up and getting those takedowns. But at the same time, if Urbina can stuff it, get his back off of the fence, I think he's going to hit harder. He's got more tools, more weapons, and I think he can outstrike Radtke. So the pick is Urbina, but I don't want to bet this price because I think that Radtke's a live underdog. I would not be shocked if he took rounds 2 and 3. I've considered a bet on his spread, but it's like minus 135. And my new rule this year is I'm only betting spreads if it's plus money, because even if your read is perfect, you can get screwed by the judges. Our judges are so volatile. They're so inconsistent. We don't know what they're looking for half the time because they change from fight to fight. Sometimes it's damage. Sometimes it's control. You never know who the judge is, and you never know what they're going to give more credit to. So I don't want to play it at minus 135, even though I think Radtke wins at least one round at a pretty high clip. The other question there is, does Radtke get finished? It's possible. Urbina could do it, but I think we're probably going to go to a decision. That's another bet I'm considering. It's plus money. The over 2.5 is plus money, I'm pretty sure. That's something I might do just because I think there's going to be so much grappling here. I wouldn't be shocked if we went to decision just through the grappling alone. Can Urbina sub him? Maybe. I don't think it's super likely. I don't think Radtke subs him, but I can also see a knockout happening on the feet from either side. So staying away for now. Urbina will be the pick, and we can move on. That's my angle. Maksum was gassed. If CJ makes him work in the first 1.5, he can finish. Yeah, he can, but then he doesn't have that urgency. I mean, just look at the last one, right, with Estevam. He could have finished in that 3rd round, but he just didn't. All right, second fight of the main card. We've got Aliaskhab Khizriev versus Makhmud Muradov. Khizriev 14-0, undefeated. He's 33. Yo, that's 6 fights in a row. We got a 33-year-old. 5'9" with a 74-inch reach. On the other side, Muradov, he's going to be 26, 8-0, also 33, 6'2", so he is 5 inches taller, and he's going to have a 1.5-inch reach advantage. I'm seeing so many people on Muradov, and I'm on Muradov, so it concerns me a little bit. I don't like being part of the pack. I prefer to be on an island, but it is what it is. We're seeing the same thing, and I think it's a pretty good bet. So Khizriev, number 1 red flag, inactivity, just extremely inactive. I think since 2018 or 2017, he's had 2 fights. One of those was a contender series, which ended in the 1st round, and the other one was against Dennis Tiulin, which ended in the 2nd round. So he's had, what, like 8-9 minutes of fight time since 2018. Huge red flag. He usually looks relatively out of shape, and that's another one. And he's pretty undersized. He's good. Don't get me wrong. I think Khizriev's good, and I think people are maybe going a little bit too far with their takes. I mean, I'm hearing some crazy stuff. Like, I'm hearing he doesn't have good wrestling. I'm hearing that he doesn't have good striking, which are just lies. Those are people just consoling themselves so they feel better about their bet. None of those things are true. Khizriev is a good striker. Khizriev is a very good wrestler. He will get takedowns here. There's zero doubt in my mind that he'll get at least a few. But at the end of the day, I don't know how great his cardio is because he rarely leaves the first, rarely leaves the second round, and he's super inactive. So is the cardio really going to be great if Muradov pushes the pace, if Muradov defends the grappling, if Muradov can make him work? I think he really might gas. And on the feet, while I don't think people are correct in saying that Khizriev's a bad striker, he isn't as good as Muradov, right? He's pretty good. He can land. He will land pretty clean. He's got nice straight strikes. He's not coming out here throwing bombs. But at the same time, if we're on the feet, I favor Muradov. I think he hits much harder. He's got like 17 knockouts, and his striking just technically, I think, is better as well. Just think he's a technically superior striker. He mixes it up really nicely, goes to the body really clean. And if he can just defend those takedowns, which I think he can as the fight progresses, I think he can take over, either get a late finish. He's got a ton of round 3 finishes or win a decision. I hope not, because the other bet I have on this fight is fight doesn't go. And the reason I played that is for 2 reasons. First, I think that Muradov can get a late finish. I think that Khizriev can get an early finish. And this way, Muradov, I think he has what? Let me check my notes. He has 4 submission losses. Khizriev has 4 sub wins, and his jiu-jitsu is very solid. His submission grappling is very solid. And I can see him subbing Muradov maybe in the first or second round. And that's why I played the fight doesn't go, because that way I'm covered. If Khizriev pulls it off, I don't lose a full unit on Muradov if it's inside the distance. And if Muradov gets a late finish, I cash twice. Worst thing that can happen here is Khizriev by decision. That would suck. Could happen. I think it's relatively unlikely, though. Muradov has shown good scrambling ability on top of decent takedown defense against Kai Barallo. A lot of people felt that he won, and even I feel like he might have won that fight. And I had quite a bit of money on Barallo, but he scrambled well. He got a lot of control time himself, despite getting less takedowns than Barallo. And Khizriev, as good of a grappler as he is, Denise Tiulin was doing pretty good against him. He was able to defend a bunch of those takedowns. He was able to get back up. And Muradov, I think, has better takedown defense than Tiulin, much more dangerous striker. And Tiulin was landing too. He's a good boxer, but I think Muradov's a better striker than Tiulin. I think he'll have more success on the feet. And I think he can hurt Khizriev multiple times throughout the fight. Muradov's the pick for me. I played him at plus 165 like yesterday. The line has dropped insanely. Everyone is betting Muradov. Let me check what the line is. Plus 130 now. Plus 150, depending where you look. I think that's still playable. I would play that line if I hadn't already had plus 165. But just be careful. Don't go hammering it because people are telling you that Khizriev's striking sucks, his wrestling sucks. Those are just lies. Those are people making themselves feel better because they made the bet without thinking it through. Now they're getting nervous, and now they're just making shit up to make themselves feel better. Khizriev is a great, great wrestler, and Muradov will have to work to defend the takedowns and work to get back on his feet. I just think that he will. So we can move on. Don't have to beat a dead horse. Next up, we've got Viviane Araujo versus Natalia Silva. Araujo, she's 12-5-0. 37 years old at this weight class at flyweight. Not the best look. 5'4" with a 68-inch reach. On the other side, we've got Silva, 16-6-5-1. Sorry. She's 27, so she's going to be 10 years younger. 5'4" as well. And she's going to have a 3-inch reach disadvantage here. I won't waste a ton of time here. I mean, it feels like the line is too wide just because Araujo is a good fighter. She's a great fighter. She just tends to gas a little bit, and she's on the older side of things, but she has good power. She's got pretty good striking, decent output, and her wrestling is pretty good too. She was able to take down Jennifer Maia, which is not an easy thing. She got outstruck there, but she was able to take her down, control her, and win the fight that way. And Maia's not easy to take down by any means. So I don't think Araujo is bad. I don't think that the line is correct. But just because the line is wrong, I don't want to get involved because I don't think Viviane wins this at a high clip. Silva is real good. Probably going to fight for a title at some point. She's extremely well-rounded. Can't really point to any weaknesses. Like with Araujo, there's some weaknesses, right? The output, while decent, isn't that great. Striking is all right. She's hittable. If she can't get those takedowns, she might start struggling. And the cardio, right? The cardio is a question mark. So I do think that Silva just has her covered. I think she has her covered. She's super clean on the feet, creates angles incredibly well. Just a great striker, great grappler. I think she can be taken down. She was taken down in the what's her name? Not Dudakova. I always mix them up. Teresa Bleda. She was able to she got taken down there, but her takedown defense is pretty good. Her get-ups are pretty good. And Araujo, I think she'll get at least 1 or 2 takedowns here. If there's like a prop on Bet Online that has her at like 0.5 or something, I would play that because I do think Araujo will get some takedowns. But Silva has the jiu-jitsu to be able to defend anything Araujo throws at her. She's got the stand-ups. And on the feet, I think it's Silva all day long. I'm pretty interested in the Silva round 3 props. They're like plus 12, plus 1,300. And Araujo, she can slow down. And Silva, she's got a pretty good pace throughout the fight. But at the same time, Araujo hasn't been finished in the 3rd round ever. If she's made it there, she's either won or lost the decision. And I remembered her cardio being like horrible, but it's really not bad. It's not that bad. In all of her fights, she's still throwing a bunch in round 3. She's still shooting takedowns. I don't think she's going to be like a corpse in the 3rd round where Silva just has to touch her a few times and she's done. Do I think there's a better than what is it? Plus 1,300. That's like 7 or 8% they're giving it. Probably a little more likely than that she finishes her. So there's probably some value, but we'll see if I end up getting there. I don't want to parlay her or anything like that because there's not too many people to parlay with, and I don't think she should be minus 350 or whatever it is. So I'm going to stay off, but I think that Silva takes this. We'll see what they give the round 3 decision prop on DraftKings. If that's like minus 130, something like that, I'll play that because she could do it, but I don't think she'll finish in the 1st or 2nd. I think if a finish comes, it's in round 3, and I think she can take the decision because she's just better. She's younger. She's just better. I think she has Araujo covered. She's better everywhere except maybe the offensive grappling I'll give to Araujo, but I just don't think it's going to be enough to win her this fight. Give me Silva. Let me run through the chat real quick. Radtke could win by decision. I agree, man. I agree. That's why I don't want to bet on Urbina. I see everybody betting Urbina, and I don't think it's a very good bet at these odds. But I do think that the fight goes to decision or the over 2.5 are both interesting looks. It's just, can Urbina hang in there as the fight goes on and he gets tired? Because that's what he starts to fall apart. Like about the halfway mark of round 2, he starts to really slow down. And Radtke could put on that pace. And like I mentioned earlier when I was breaking down that fight, if he's mixing up the wrestling with those hooks up close, I can see him putting away someone like Urbina. But I am curious about those decision props, or the over. Muradov, experience edge, got to pick him. I mean, experience alone isn't enough to bet on somebody, but yeah, here it definitely helps. Good data point to look at. My guys from Chronic Combat, thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you're checking them out. They've got a great show, both hilarious dudes, and they've got good bets too. Moving on, let's see. I am blind betting any fighter with experience. I wouldn't do all that. Let's see. My guy CT, what's good, brother? Thank you for tuning in. Natalia Silva, future champ. Maybe. I think she's without a doubt going to fight for a championship. Will she be a champion? It's possible. Moving on, though. Next up, we've got, I believe this is the 3rd to last fight. We've got Randy Brown versus Muslim Salikhov. Brown, he's going to be 17-5-0, 33 years old. I give up. How many is that in a row now? No one here. How many on the card? That's 1 33-year-old, 3 33-year-olds, 4 33-year-olds, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. 8 people who are 33, and we haven't finished the card yet. It probably means nothing. I'm a superstitious guy. I don't believe in numerology or anything like that, but just think it's funky. Way more 33-year-olds than any other age, unless I'm like just selectively noticing it, which is also very possible. But on the other side, Salikhov, he's going to be 19-4-0, 39. He's 6 years older, 5'11". He's 4 inches shorter, and he's going to be giving up 8 inches in reach here. So this fight is a rebook. It was already booked once before. It fell off. I don't remember why. Let me double check, actually. Maybe we can see. Tapology does tend to show why they dropped out, or at least who dropped out. Brown withdrew. So I don't know why he withdrew. I don't remember any interviews or anything like that, but this fight was scheduled before. And my read hasn't changed at all. It's the same read, the same thoughts, and might end up on the same bet that I thought I was going to do last time. Salikov, there's a few problems with him. He's 39 years old, first of all, which isn't great. Damage adds up. All that time in the cage adds up. 23 fights being 39, not great. He's low output. That's another thing. He throws a lot of kicks. Would like if he threw it more with his hands, because I think his hands are real good. He's real fast, and his counters are really solid. He's got big power, and he's a clean striker. I just wish he used his hands more. But at the same time, do I want to bet Randy Brown at minus 200 or higher? I think minus 240 now. Hell no. Hell no. Randy is never consistent. That's the problem with Randy Brown. I love betting him as the underdog because I think that he's underrated and he's a very skilled guy. That range helps a lot and he knows how to use it. He's a very good striker at range. His clinch game is really good too because he's so tall, so he can throw up those knees really easily. And, he's got some grappling of his own, some offensive wrestling, some good jiu-jitsu. But I remember leading up to the last fight, people were saying Randy Brown could out-wrestle Salikov. I think that's a pretty weird take to have. Brown's not really coming out here and shooting a million takedowns, and he's not getting them a ton. I think he has like one takedown in his last 5 fights. It's not like he's coming out here and just chain wrestling. And Salikov, while it's not his first choice, he is a good wrestler. He's good at it. And once he gets them down there, he's got pretty good control too. If Salikov can do something similar to what Turman did, which I think he can because I think Turman stinks. I think he's poo-poo. But Salikov, if he can do something similar, back him up. Randy doesn't handle pressure well. If you don't give him his range, if you back him up, if you limit that movement, he starts to not be so good. He starts to fall apart a little bit. And someone like Salikov, he can back up Brown. He can take those few shots at range, back him up, put him against the cage, and he's going to land a lot harder there. He's going to land a lot cleaner because his counters are absolutely nasty, and he's real, real fast. And if the fight's not going his way, I think Salikov himself could get some takedowns. Brown has good takedown defense. He's one of these tall guys that are hard to get down because they can tripod standing. I used to hate wrestling tall guys. I way rather the shorter dudes when I wrestled back in high school. But I think he can be taken down here. I think that if someone's going to get takedowns successfully, I think it's going to be Salikov, not Brown. And in the Dalby fight, we saw Salikov really kind of fall apart later on in the fight. But Dalby brings this pressure, this pace that we saw last time when he beat Bonfim as like a plus 300 underdog. Brown doesn't do that. Brown's not a guy who comes out here and breaks people with his pace. He's a guy who likes to stay at range and use his 8-inch reach advantage. It's usually about that high. And he likes to use that and win fights that way. A little bit of a point fighter, but he can finish too. Just don't think he's going to necessarily finish Salikov here. I'm gonna pick Salikov to win, and because I'm picking him to win outright, I feel like I have to bet it. He's like plus 205 or plus 210 right now, but the line is still moving. Money is still coming in on Brown. So while I think plus 210 is fine, I think that's a playable line. I'm gonna wait. I think people are going to keep parlaying Brown. The more books that open up parlays, the more people are going to do it. And then I'm going to get in and I'm going to bet on Salikov more than likely. Make sure you're following me on Twitter or in my Discord. That's where you're going to get them even quicker. My Discord is 100% free. The link is in the description. I post all my bets there. I post typed up notes for every single fight. And we also talk fights in there. We talk regionals. We talk UFC. We have a channel for like every regional promotion. I think I have like 15 different channels at this point. And it's a good time and it's free. And you'll get my bets as soon as I make them with notes coming that are typed up. Try to make them nice. And I try to go over everything. So yeah, I'll be looking at Salikov and I will more than likely end up on him because while I do have concerns and I don't love betting him when he's a favorite or something like that because of the output, I think he should not be plus 210, plus 200. That's like, they're giving him like 33% chance to win the fight. And I just think that's wrong. I think it's 50-50 slightly in Salikov because I think he wins this more often than not. So I'll be betting him. Just going to wait on the line. Moving on, we got our co-main event of the evening. We've got Renato Moicano versus Drew Dober. Moicano, he's going to be 17, 5-1, 34 years old, 5'11" with a 72-inch reach. Dober on the other side, 27, 12-0, 35. He's 1 year older, going to be 3 inches shorter and have a 2-inch reach disadvantage. So the line opened different. The line opened up with Moicano as the underdog, and I got in pretty quick. I got in at plus 115 on Moicano. Now he's minus 170, and Dober's like plus 150. So if I was betting it now, I'm a numbers guy. I bet based off the numbers, perceived edge, stuff like that. I don't bet just who I think is going to win, and I bet the numbers. And I still felt like Moicano was going to win. That's why plus 115 was an easy bet to make when I felt like he should be the favorite. He should be the slight favorite. It was an easy bet to make. Now, if I had to do it, it would be on Dober. But here's the thing with Dober. People love the guy, and I get it. He's super exciting. He's getting all these finishes. He's got crazy, crazy power. He's got a brick for a chin. Finishing him is really difficult. Well, knocking him out is really difficult. He's been submitted, I think, 4 or 5 times at this point. And I do think Moicano's very live to do that. But I get why people love him. I think he's a little overrated. Dober, don't come at me, but I think he's a little overrated. His striking's not elite. He's not like this super technical striker like Khizriev. I mean, the combo that got Moicano against Khizriev was extremely clean. Dober just doesn't strike like that. That's not how he strikes. He's pretty meat and potatoes guy with the boxing. That's not a bad thing. I think meat and potatoes is a good thing if the person's good at it, right? It just means they're using the basics. They're not getting too fancy. And if they're good at the basics and they're not using anything too fancy, I love that usually. So that's a good thing, but he's not. My point is he's not a Khizriev. He's not going to come out here and just be leagues ahead of Moicano on the feet. He's got the power edge for sure. And every second they're on the feet, Moicano is in danger of being knocked out. That's a big possibility. But I don't think that technique-wise he's going to be like really down and out. I think Moicano is also a good striker. He's come a long way in the striking, and he's looking pretty good. Like everything is nice, clean, straight down the pipe, good jab, nice leg kicks. He used those against Calvin Kattar back in the day, and he's still using it. He still looks good with them. And leg kicks would be good against Dober. Take away that explosiveness, take away that power. Well, not the power, but the ability to produce that power because you need your legs. And Dober becomes less scary. Dober's takedown defense is okay, but I mean, guys like Brad Riddell are taking him down 5 times. Moicano only needs 1 because he gets him down, and the jiu-jitsu guys have really good control, and Moicano has really good control on the ground. So what it came down to for me was where's the gap the widest? I don't think the gap is that wide on the feet, but I think the gap on the ground is incredibly wide. I think that Moicano is much better on the ground. I think his jiu-jitsu is much better than Dober's. And I think his wrestling is good enough to get Dober down. And if he can't, we've seen him do it against the fence too. I think that's a possibility as well. So can Dober knock out Moicano? Absolutely. Do I think it's a super likely outcome? Not really, because he's going to need it to just stay on the feet to get that. And Moicano is not going to allow that. He's going to be grappling. He's going to do what Brad Riddell did, but he's going to do it better because he's a jiu-jitsu guy. Brad Riddell is a striker, and he still took down Dober 5 times. So give me Moicano here. Do I think you should be betting him at minus 170? No, I wouldn't do it. But I do think he's the rightful side. I do think he's going to win the fight, and I do think he's going to probably submit Dober. I would say about the second round is what I think. And we can move on to our main event of the evening. We've got Roman Dolidze versus Nassourdine Imavov. Dolidze 12-2-0. 35 years old. He's 6'2" with a 76-inch reach. On the other side, Imavov 12-4-0, 27. So he's going to be 8 years younger, 1 inch taller, and he's going to be at a 1 inch reach disadvantage. He's at MMA Factory. Dolidze's at Extreme Couture, both at really good camps. So first thing I want to talk about. So everyone knows, everyone in the community knows at least about Roman Dolidze, Cheyenne Vlismas, JP Baez's ex-wife. They had their whole thing, whatever. Not going to get into all the drama of it. But like a month ago, maybe a little bit longer, Cheyenne posted on her Instagram her holding a baby in Georgia. So, I mean, Roman didn't say anything, but putting 2 and 2 together, seems that Dolidze is a recent father. He had a kid recently, and that could be a good and bad thing. Could be a good thing because of the motivation. Could be a bad thing because he might not be training as much. But just doing like overlooking a massive hardware gap. I know my guy Andrew's on Dober. I didn't overlook it. I said he's going to have a big power edge. I just don't think he's a stud striker that he's going to come out here and outstrike Moicano by a margin. I just don't think that's true. I think he needs to catch Moicano. And to catch Moicano, you need it on the feet. So, but anyways, moving on to this fight. In terms of the whole baby thing, I did do my Instagram stalking on Dolidze. It looks like he's been training at Extreme Couture. I don't know if Cheyenne is still there in Georgia or she's here now, so he is still helping with the kid. I have no idea. But based off his Instagram, it seems that he's still at camp. And he's a guy who I was never that high on, and he's had some really underwhelming performances against Trevin Giles, against Laureano Staropoli. That was just an abysmal performance. I think he got like 15 significant strikes in that fight. But he's gotten a lot better. And in the Vettori fight, I thought he looked great. I had Vettori there at like minus 225, and that was a horrible bet because A, Dolidze probably won, at least in my opinion. And B, you don't bet a minus 210, minus 250 in a fight that's that close. It's just not a good bet. So I felt that he won that fight, and I feel like he's been improving a lot. His striking is much, much better than it used to be. He used to throw way less. The output has come a long way. He's extremely dangerous in the clinch. He's extremely dangerous anytime he throws, really. But if he can back you up, that's where he's really dangerous. And if you back up against the fence, he could finish you. His wrestling isn't amazing. He can get takedowns. Can he take down Imavov? I'm honestly not sure. I'm not positive. Imavov has really good takedown defense, and he has a lot of lateral movement. So he might make it hard for Dolidze to pin him down and get those takedowns, especially because Dolidze is not really blasting doubles. He's more of a throw trip kind of guy. And his jiu-jitsu is insane once he gets it there. He's a really, really dangerous guy. We all saw what he did to Jack Hermanson. I mean, that just blew my mind. I thought Hermanson's going to easily win that fight, and he was winning. And then Dolidze rips off his leg and beats him to a pulp. Ripped off Phil Hawes's leg, beat him to a pulp. If you can get Imavov down, he's super dangerous. He could submit him. It's just I'm not positive he's going to get those takedowns. Imavov might take him down himself. We saw him go to the wrestling against Curtis. It wasn't really something a part of his game before, but he seems to be mixing it in now. But if I'm his corner, I'm telling him, dude, don't do that. Dude, do not do that. Just keep it on the feet because Dolidze might have power. But who's the better technical striker? Definitely Nassourdine. Nassourdine Imavov striking is real, real good. He's really fast. He was beating up on Chris Curtis until that little headbutt scenario. I don't know what happened there. But he's an elite fighter, if you ask me. I think Imavov is really good. But we've seen in a few fights now, in the Strickland fight, even in the Curtis fight, if you can back the guy up, if you can take away that movement, take away his ability to move laterally and pick and choose his spots, if you just back him up, take that away from him, he becomes a lot easier to hit. He becomes a lot easier to handle. And Dolidze, he's just got that plodding style. He won't stop moving forward. Even if you're beating him up in the head, he's going to keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. And if he can pressure Nassourdine, if he can use his leg kicks to take away that movement, which is something he does do, I think he's super, super live. As the underdog, I think he's the side. Imavov is real good and really well-rounded. And he's going to be hard to find in terms of striking for Dolidze because he's so plodding. And he's going to be hard to take down because Dolidze really works with throws usually or trips. And doing that against the cage, you got to find the person. But if he can back him up, if he can find him, I think he can start to take over and really hurt Imavov and probably put him away. So the way I chose to handle this, I was so torn whether I should play Dolidze money line at like plus 140 or if I should take his finish only prop, which just means that. So finish only pretty much means that the action's only live if the fight ends inside the distance, right? So if Dolidze finishes, I cash. If Imavov finishes, I lose. But if we go to a decision, no matter who wins, I get my money back. So the only way I lose the bet is if Imavov gets a finish. Otherwise, I can only win or get my money back. The other option was the money line because I felt like, it doesn't really fit the narrative, but I wouldn't be shocked if Dolidze won by decision. I think he can do it. Against Vettori, he probably deserved that decision. That was only 3 rounds. It wasn't 5. We have no clue how Dolidze will look over 5. And Imavov, we've seen him do it. He lost to Strickland, but in the 5th round, he outstruck Strickland on the numbers. So he's got that 5-round cardio. Don't know if Dolidze has it, but I do think Dolidze can win a decision. That's why I was hesitant and almost just did the money line and called it a day. But because I think it's not that likely, and I rather get my money back if we're going to a decision, because I think if you tell me right now, Mike, this fight goes all 25 minutes, I'm going to be pretty confident that Imavov wins. If you tell me fight ends inside the distance, I'm pretty comfortable saying Dolidze wins because Can Imavov get a finish too? Yeah, he can, especially late. That power, the hands, the striking, it's going to add up. The numbers are going to be on Imavov's side volume-wise. So I can see it, but I think that's unlikely. I think that the Dolidze decision is relatively unlikely. So I like that finish only prop. I think it's a relatively safe bet. Bets are never safe. It's called gambling for a reason. But I think it's a pretty good one to make. So I went with Dolidze finish only. I think he's going to pull this fight off. I think he's going to get Imavov out of there. Whether it's a sub or a knockout, I'm not sure. But he can do either. The dude is so dangerous. And I have him in a category with Drickus where I don't think they're that good, but I tend to underrate them. And every time they're supposed to lose, they win. So he's just another guy who can pull it out. And I think he's going to pull it out again and put away Imavov. So give me Dolidze. And that's it, guys. That is UFC Vegas 85. That's 13 fights. And I think we've got what? We got quite a few bets. Only 4 money lines. Only things that might be added to my slate at this point. I'll probably add Stoliarenko. Just going to wait on the line. And I might add that Urbina Radtke over. I might do that. I think that's an interesting look. Pretty contrarian as well. Everyone thinks it's going to finish. And I think that might be a spot that where we do go over. So I'll be looking at that. But in terms of bets that I do have, let's run through those real quick. We have Renato Moicano plus 115, 1 unit. Muradov plus 165, 1 unit. Maksum minus 140, 1.4 units. Pogues plus 230, 1 unit. Then I played Muradov, Khizriev fight doesn't go the distance, minus 130 for 1 unit. Carolina round 3 plus 2,000, 10th of a unit. Gorimbo round 2 plus 460, quarter unit. Gorimbo round 3 plus 1,000, 10th of a unit. And Dolidze scorecards equal no action, finish only, plus 112, 1 unit. That line is available on Bet Rivers, Unibet. There's a lot of clone books there, a lot of skins. You can find it probably, so check that out if you're interested in that line. And that's it, guys. So in terms of other shows this week, I don't have much because I'm in the process of moving right now. That's why all my pictures are down. That's why the camera's different. We're using the webcam right now. But hopefully we'll be all set up and I'll be able to get to the usual schedule next week. We do have a guest and we'll normal programming. I will put out my YouTube shorts. I don't know yet if it's going to be tonight or tomorrow. I lean tomorrow. I'm thinking maybe after the move at night, I'll just put together the shorts real quick. We'll see, maybe Thursday, but I will put them out. And what else? There is Road to UFC also on Sunday. The finals, finally, it was supposed to be a few cards ago when they were going to do UFC Singapore. And when that fell apart, they put them together for a separate card. And it's going to be this Sunday. There's supposed to be 4 fights. One of them fell off, so there's only 3. I might put up something about that soon. I would like to at least. And that's going to be it, guys. I did do an interview recently with Angel Pacheco. That's on my channel. Make sure to check that out. That was a really fun interview. And I really like the guy. He's super cool. We talked about the Contender Series when he had that crazy war with Danny Silva where his ear was hanging off. We spoke about the ear. We spoke about his upcoming fight with Colin Loughran. So make sure to check that out. And I have some fun interviews coming. I think we have 3 fighters lined up. And I'll be dropping those on my Twitter as they happen. Make sure you're following me on Twitter at Couch Warrior Pod. Make sure you're in the Discord, 100% free. That's where my bets go first. And that's where you can get my notes. You can talk to me. We talk fights in there constantly. So make sure to hop into the Discord. Won't cost you a cent. And that's it, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. Good luck this weekend. Peace out and good luck.